Hello, choir friends. I'm sure your day went well or is going well, depending on wherever you're watching this video all over the world. If this is your first time watching this video, my name is Shenwade Kunle, the choir doctor. If you are not yet following me on social media, you can follow me at the choir doctor on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and also on TikTok. I'll be right back after this break.
The choir doctor.
One of the common issues that we have with choristers they are usually sitting on relationship management, whether leader to member relationships or member to member relationships. So I'll be talking about the leader to member relationships. So as a choir leader, there are some things that you need to keep in mind that can avoid a lot of issues in the choir. Okay? One of the things that I feel usually gives choir leaders BP, high BP I like to call it high BP, right? Is the fact that you see this headache that you're having is because you lack understanding of certain things. Once you have an understanding of certain things, you have peace of mind and you have a very healthy choir. Okay, I will be talking about a couple, and maybe in some other teachings I'll talk more of it on that. So one of it is that you understand that some members actually joined your choir for wrong reasons. So don't be offended when you're having certain stuff or certain experiences. They joined for very wrong reasons. One of the reasons, for example, some people join because they feel I can sing well. And to be honest, they can actually sing well. So that's why they joined. It's not like they have an understanding of their Levitical duties and calling. Some are not even called as Levites. They just know that they can sing well. Do you understand? So when you have people like that, if you understand that there are people like that in your choir, when they behave in certain way, you are not offended. And your response is not something that will stress you in any way. You just understand that you can manage such kind of choristers, okay? Another set of people can actually join because they have friends there. You know, some people like to be in a department where they have friends. So when it's time for rehearsal, we go together, we come back together. So not like they have any understanding of what it means to be a Levite. So when you have people like that, there are some things that you don't take personal and there are some things you handle without stress, okay? Another category of people actually were there because they have a crush in the choir and they feel that proximity will help a lot. So it's not like they have any business with all this, your preparation for your ministration or all the stuff. They just want to be around that particular person until their goal is achieved. As funny as it is, that's actually one of the reasons why some people join the choir, right? Then another set of people, they are just like it because they feel in all the departments in churches, depending on the denomination you belong to, they just feel that the choir, they are the ones that have this capacity to have Class C uniforms, and they want to identify with that kind of group, especially during special programs. That's just their reasons for joining. They don't really have any understanding of what it means. So if you understand that you have this kind of people, there's a way you manage them without stressing out yourself, okay? Then another thing that I think is also one of the things that cause this high BP that choir leaders have is the fact that they rely heavily. Notice I use the word heavily. They rely heavily on their special team, in quotes. Now, there's really no choir that don't have that special team thing, but your ability to be able to manage them well or the right way is what will determine whether you end up being frustrated or whether you enjoy your leadership, okay? There's nothing wrong with having a special team, because what I mean by the special team are those people that you know, when it comes to being available, they are available. Availability, yes, you tick for them, okay? Being skilled, they are well skilled, they are well trained, yes, okay? When it comes to certain stuff, anything you need, they are just there. But they are not the only ones in the choir. They are not the only ones you are leading. If you rely heavily on them, a lot of stuff will come out of that. One of it is the fact that they will end up becoming proud choristers because of you. Yes, the blame is on you, because you'd have made them feel like without them, nothing's going to happen in the choir. So a time will come that they will feel like they can do whatever they like. After all, they don't have a choice. Without me, they can't get some stuff done. So that's one of the results that you get from that. Another thing is the fact that whether we like it or not, at some point in life, whether for good reasons or for bad reasons, we will all move on to greater heights. You understand? So when I said good reasons, let's say, for example, you have those who are students, maybe like in secondary school, depending on the level of the members that you have in your choir. There are some churches that are still growing churches, maybe like parishes that are not like a zonal headquarter or something, that maybe you have all these students in secondary school. A time will come, they will get admission to the university. We are all praying that they progress. We are not praying they stay stagnant. So when they have to move forward like that for good reasons, what happens to those ones that you ignored before? It has actually happened to me before. That was when I understood the importance of carrying everybody along. At that time, let me say like 80% of the choir were students. They all had admission, and I was left with the oldies that know nothing about music, not talk of being a Levite. So I was forced to learn how to groom them so I don't end up getting frustrated as a leader then. So it could be that you have singles in your choir. They're going to get married. That's good news. Nobody's praying that they should stay single forever. So they get married, and maybe unfortunately for you, their spouses are outside town and they have to move. So what happened with those ones that you ignored before? You just end up being frustrated for no meaningful reason and stranded. So that is why it's important you carry everybody along, okay? Then also, another thing that also gives choir leaders high BP is the fact that it's just like an extension of what I just said. You don't prep those new members that you get into your choir. New members come, they don't know how things works. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to prepare. They don't know what is expected of them. They're just hanging everywhere, just gambling, doing guesswork. So when you give them opportunity to minister and they mess up, you get angry, you get frustrated for no reason really. Because if that has been done, it can be avoided. Most of them genuinely don't know that that's how things works, and there was nobody to tell them that. So if you are that kind of leader, you're going to continue to get frustrated until you fix that. New members, as they are coming in, the first thing is not for them to jump on the mic. It's for them to be schooled in how things works, what is expected of them, how the operations of the department work, so they can flow with it and blend in with it and not stress you for any reason. Okay? Another thing that is also expected of you as a leader to avoid this is that you're expected to love everyone equally and serve them, not just order them around or have a preferential treatment for some people. People naturally respond to leaders who love them genuinely. It's not something that you need to force. They naturally want to follow. Have you noticed that even if you are in the church where you have your pastor who has your best interest at heart, who loves you all genuinely, look out for you, you naturally follow such kind of pastor. You don't have to be forced or manipulated to do so. So that's just the way it is. If that is done, you don't need to force anybody to do stuff. You don't need to force anybody to follow you. It's just going to come easy because people can tell when you are genuine and when you are being fake. So if you are that kind of person, you need to work on that. Okay? Then, as an extension of what I said earlier, you don't see the need to carry along those growing members that you have in your choir because you think you have a special team. So as an extension of what I said earlier, the day those ones move on, whether for bad reasons, probably they misbehaved, maybe they were out of character and they had to be moved out of the choir, or they decide to even leave the church depending on the gravity of what their character issue was. Then those people that you refuse to carry along, those ones will have to frustrate you. Because if you have been working on them from time, if that kind of thing happens, you won't be left stranded. So that is why it's important you carry everybody along. Yes, they might not be perfect. There's this rule I usually used for my choir back then when I used to be a leader, is the fact that you always reserve your best hands for special events. There will be special events. Of course, I don't expect you to use the growing choristers. You use your best hands. That is the importance of your special team. Not making others look like they are useless or they are just for decoration. Now, because with time, they will see themselves as not being useful. They will not be as committed as they are supposed to be committed. And they end up misbehaving. Because the idle hand, of course, is going to be the devil's workshop. When they don't have anything meaningful they are doing, they'll be causing a lot of issues. Okay? So you can apply that rule as well. And another thing I also want you to keep in mind as a leader is this. You should learn to correct in love and criticize constructively. Most times, one of the problems of some leaders is the fact that you claim you want to correct. You don't correct in love. You embarrass some people. You talk down on them. You talk as if you don't believe in them or don't believe anything good can come out of their Nazareth. For some people, it might stir up a sort of, how will I put it now, a sort of encouragement for them to do more and work on themselves. For some people, it might actually make them give up and never believe that they can do anything good in life. So you also need to work on that to avoid all these kind of headaches here and there. And if at all you want to criticize maybe any performance or administration, it's something that you can actually do constructively. The idea is not to ridicule the person involved. The The idea is to help us to understand this was the mistake. Try to avoid it next time. Then others too can learn from it. That is what the purpose is supposed to be. Okay. And then I also, finally, on a last note, I want you to have an understanding of how to manage different categories of choir members that you have. That's also another thing that gives some choir leaders headaches. If you understand, because some of them, they lack understanding of managing them, and some even though they are not even aware that they are in their choir. Okay. One of the categories of choir are the either hyperactive but not so organized choir member. They are usually the life of the party. You understand? When people like that are not around for choir rehearsal, you feel it. The choir rehearsal is going to be boring. When they are not ministering on stage, you are going to feel it. They are like the life of the party. But they are just usually all over everywhere. And sometimes it can just be just too much. You understand? Understand that they are needed. They might have their excesses, but they are needed. They are the ones that will give there are some of them that are like the hype man, hype woman of your choir. You say, let's say everybody, they don't even want to really laugh. Or maybe there's a song that they are supposed to be smiling. If that person is dropping some hypes, it makes them smile, so they are needed. It's just that you will help them to manage their excesses. Not that you just throw them away or you just let them just be all over the place. So you must understand how to manage those ones to have a very healthy choir. The second category is the quiet but loaded. That's what I like to call them. You'll notice that some choir, they are not all over the place, they're not making noise. They just sit down, observe, They'll sit down, observe what's going on. They won't say a word. You ask for suggestions, they won't even talk. Does anybody have any idea? They are not saying anything. What do you think we should do? They are not saying anything. But trust me, they are loaded. You don't just assume that because they are not talking, they don't have anything to offer. In fact, those people that do too much of talking, most of the time, they don't have much stuff to offer. You get those who are quiet, they are usually loaded. So your ability to be able to manage those ones will determine how much of the value you can get from them. So sometimes you might have to pull out the value from them. You might have to direct the questions to them sometimes. Sometimes some of them don't feel comfortable talking openly. Sometimes you might ask them behind the scene and apply what you get from them. So you don't just assume that they are quiet, they don't always talk, just push them aside. You might be losing a lot. I've had this experience before, several times during the period where I was privileged by God to lead the choir. Then the third kind of category I want you to keep in mind are the timid but gifted. That's what I like to call them. They are very, very gifted. In fact, everybody around them can testify. Singing, they can sing well. Anointed, they are. But when it comes to facing the crowd, that's where the problem is. It will be as if the word is going to come to an end. And it's not like they are not gifted. So you will not say because they are timid, they are not so bold and all over the place like the first category I talked about, you push them aside. Then you are becoming a failure as a leader. Because your job as a leader, you're supposed to bring out the best out of your members. If they came as at a particular level, at level 10, under your leadership, they should move to level 100. Do you understand? So it's not that you just leave them, because you should help them to build their confidence. I remember I used to be like that kind of person some time ago. I was glad that I had a leader that helped me back then. To face the crowd was a serious issue. And it's not even something I'm exaggerating. But God really used my leader then. In fact, at that time, I even used to see him as a wicked person, but I didn't know he was helping me. To lead a song, I would run away from every opportunity. Even at the national headquarters of the denomination I was serving at then, it was a big deal then. If you are told you are going to lead a song there, it was a big deal. If our people try to manipulate their way through, I don't even bother. Because is it me? I've not finished facing the crowd at provincial level. Is it me that I'm not even interested? If I'm given the opportunity, I want to run away. Can you imagine that? So, but God helped me with the leader I had then. He was able to build that confidence in me. Even during rehearsal, I don't lift. I like to cover my head with my hat. Can you imagine? Is that terrible? Is that I'm looking at the ceiling, I'm looking at the ground. But when I open my mouth, really, that's why when I tell people that I'm still covering up, they feel I'm being sarcastic. Because when I actually handle the mic, you will be shocked. But when it comes to me being confident enough to face the crowd, was a problem. So over the years, as God helped me, I was able to overcome it. Not that I'm 100%, but at least I can say I'm 80%. I'm 80% okay, but then it was really zero. So you take note of people like that in your choir and work on them, not discard them, so you can have a healthy choir. Then another category is the one I like to call, I like to say proud, but rich and fashion conscious. You see these ones? They are not, most of them, most of the time, they are not any when it comes. I told you different people join the choir for different reasons. They might be those ones that join because of the fashion aspect of the choir. They are fashion conscious. When it comes to you talking about the choir uniform, that is where you hear their voices. When it comes to singing, they don't really have anything much to offer. You get just behind the scene, but they are so proud because they are privileged by God to be financially stable. You understand? And then they have a sense of high fashion. Yes, they are a bit a kind of hard work to deal with, but you still need to deal with them. They still have their own use. Everybody have their own importance and relevance. You will need them when it comes to deliberating on what choir uniform will be best for different occasions. They will come in useful, right? Of course, you need to now work on them to help them understand how they need to be humble, regardless of what God has helped them to achieve. Because the essence of them being able to afford what others cannot afford is not for them to look down on others. It's for them to see it as an opportunity or a privilege for them to be a blessing instead. So you can't discard them. And then lastly, the last category are the ones I like to call the seasonal choristers. You see all those ones? During the regular church services, you will never find them around. They don't come for rehearsals that often. But when you're having a special program like Easter concert, like the carol concert or music concert, what's going to involve music celebrities, you will find them there. They will get uniforms, they will come for rehearsal. The moment you are done with that concert, that's the end. Yes, it can be annoying, but they actually have their use. Because in all those stages when you're having a concert, it will be ridiculous that you have 10 members on stage. The beauty is that you have a mass choir on stage, so they still have their own use. So appreciate that about them. Work on their excesses. They are all useful in one way or the other. Okay, now, so I'm sure that you've learned a thing or two from what I've just shared, right? So share with every choir leader in your space, and even some choir members in your space. They can actually learn a thing or two. And don't forget to follow me on all social media platforms.
The Choir Doctor.